And right now we're going to jump into our week in review. Again, I feel like, am I in the past or am I in the future? I'm not really too sure. But we're going to go to Medical Monday. This this topic, we bring up topics multiple times, I think, throughout the year because there's always new people joining the community. And it's important because these are things that happen to people every day. And so if you see this picture, if you know, you know. Not everybody would understand what this picture means. Josh, do you know what this picture means? He doesn't. Oh my God. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. And this is literally like what it looks like to people. It's so bizarre. When you have these ocular migraines or the auras that come with some of our migraines, or sometimes without a headache at all, this is kind of what it looks like. You know what? For me, it starts off as if I looked at the bumper of a car ahead of me. And you know how, like, sometimes you'll just see spots for a while after a bright light, but the spots don't leave. And then they start off tiny and then they grow and they take over your entire peripheral vision. And then there's just spots everywhere. And then the light sensitivity, temperature sensitivity, I mean, it lasts about 20 minutes on average, and then it just goes away. But it can be jagged. Sometimes I get rings of just triangles, perfect weird shaped triangles. Like, just sometimes it's just dots. It's so strange. It's really kind of odd. But I'm curious to know how many of you have experienced these types of flashes, the zigzags people will describe, loss of vision temporarily in one eye or maybe both eyes, or maybe you just see this variety of pattern in your vision. If you have, these are called auras, and 15 to 30% of people who have migraines will actually experience these types of visual things with or without a headache. It doesn't really matter, but they experience auras. And I'm curious to know how many people in the aortic community, especially, have experienced these, but maybe didn't experience it before having your dissection or before having surgery. I just think that would be interesting to track. But according to the article, What to Know About a Migraine in Very Well Health, written by Dr. Colleen Dougherty, a migraine is a complex brain condition that actually affects 1 billion people, that's billion, each year worldwide. And besides a severe headache, migraine attacks can cause other symptoms like nausea, light sensitivity, temporal visual changes. Despite the variable and disabling nature of a migraine attack, there's numerous treatment and preventative options available. And you'll hear people talk about Imitrex as a medication. And I think that I can't remember if that's pill or shot, Botox. And I'm not talking about Botox that's going to make you, look like this. I'm talking about 30 some Botox in your scalp. So for people who have migraines and are thinking, oh, I'm going to go get Botox and just look really young, doesn't work like that. You don't get to pick where the Botox goes. It's very specific in where it goes, and there's a lot of shots with that. And I think that happens every few months. So also, so that you are aware, there's a variety of types of migraines, but here's some of the symptoms, and maybe you can determine if you're having a migraine or not. But migraine attacks actually cause throbbing or pounding pain. It can be on one or both sides of the head. Doesn't mean sides, left to right. It could be front to back. And any movement can actually aggravate the pain, which can become severe enough that you actually have to miss school or work. When I was younger, I started developing migraines as my hormonal changes were kicking in. So right around age 13, and it would disable me. I mean, I had a lot of vomiting, tons of nausea. I thought the first time it happened, I thought I was going blind. I did not know what it was. My mother picked me up. We went right to the pediatrician, and he said, yeah, this is a migraine. And back then, they gave me nitroglycerin to put under my tongue, which I don't really think they do that often right now. But so I've suffered with them on and off throughout my years, but then they just tapered off. And what I noticed is, for me, a trigger was caffeine, which is odd because they make Excedrin for migraine. So sometimes when you have a migraine headache, taking Excedrin for migraine, which has caffeine additive, it would help the headache. But I know that for myself, if I drank too much iced tea, caffeinated, or Coca-Cola or had chocolate, that would exacerbate how many times I might have it in a month. And yet sometimes out of nowhere, if I have a migraine, I might then take some caffeine in, which actually assists and alleviates some of the symptoms. But so some of the symptoms that you might have with a migraine, which makes it different than your average headache, would be nausea or vomiting, would be sensitivity to light, could be sensitivity to sound, sensitivity to smell, neck stiffness or pain, trouble sleeping, and some mood changes like anxiety or depression, which would make sense because sometimes these headaches are just so incredibly debilitating. But if you want to learn more about migraines and more about these headaches that may happen with or without an aura, you should check out the article that came out this past Monday or last Monday, and let us know. Drop us a line, leave us a comment here, and let us know if you've ever had them and what your experience is like. I just think it's kind of helpful for other people in the community to feel validated by stuff like this. But it is not. It's not. A migraine isn't something that's going to take you out. Thunderclap headaches are extremely different from a migraine, and it is not anything that's going to be gradual. It's going to be extremely sudden. But as always, if you're concerned about what you're feeling and it's something that's particularly different, get in touch with your doctor and always make sure, is this something that's okay or is this something I should be concerned with? That's your Medical Monday.